Good evening, everybody. Hello. So we're waiting for people to join in, and then we're going to talk Great Bear Rainforest. So as always, the chat function is open if you have any comments as we go, and the Q&A is open. What I'll do again, as always, is in between jumping screens, because I'm going to take you into the internet, into maps, into images and stuff. I will be checking on the Q&A. So any questions you have, photographic, travel, anything to do with the destination, spirit bears, we're going to talk about those. You can just drop that in the Q&A for me, and I will be keeping the chat open as I go as much as possible. But yeah, that's, hey, good afternoon. So that is where we are this afternoon. So I'm just waiting for one or two. I see the numbers are still going. Just waiting for people to join in, and then we can get going. Just checking numbers here. We're all good. Okay. So I'm seeing some names here that joined me for the Svalbard presentation as well. And that's pretty cool because I'm going to use I'm not going to draw a parallel, but for me, these two destinations are very similar in the way that they are way more than just about one single thing. It's Brendan, how's it, bud? So yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to tell you some stories. I'm going to show you some images of the place. I'm going to tell you how to get there, how we get there, the fabled spirit bear, and how special that really is, because it is pretty a cool thing. And yeah, if you have any questions, we can go from there. So normally these webinars are kind of more Lightroom based and stuff, but I decided this week, let me just look at Svalbard, look at Great Bear Rainforest, and then from next week, I'm back into all the Lightroom and kind of the teaching vibe, if you will. So for now, just a quick one for me. Any of you guys, Martha, I see you. Hey, Martha, hope you're doing well. Any of you guys have been to the Great Bear Rainforest? Has anybody been? Using the chat function for me, please. Has anybody been to the Great Bear Rainforest? Unfortunately, is quite right. Not yet is the right answer. Lindsay, okay, yeah, nope, not yet. Okay, so we are, it's on the list. It's always on the list. British Columbia, but not the rainforest. Okay, so planning to is good. Teresa, it is so worth it. It is unbelievable. So here we go. Great Bear Rainforest. Now, I heard about the Great Bear Rainforest on Instagram for the first time ever. And it was on Ian McAllister's feed. If you're not following him on Instagram, go and follow Ian McAllister. He's got a house in, is it Port Hardy? Oh, no, sorry, Bella Coola, where we started from. And he's put this place on the map in a big way. He's put it on the map. And for him, he is the Great Bear Rainforest. Like you can Paul Nicklin, who's kind of the polar regions. Yeah. Ian McAllister is like the champion of the Great Bear Rainforest. And more recently, I think in the last year, the IMAX movie called The Great Bear Rainforest came out. I've not had the privilege of seeing it yet, but apparently it is spectacular. I've seen some trailers, and I'm going to show you some pictures of where this was made and where they made this thing. Going there for the first time for me was in 2017. And it's a very similar expedition style, like something like Svalbard, because in Svalbard, which if you haven't seen the webinar, it's on the YouTube playlist on Wild Eye. You can go check it out there. But Svalbard is based on, and we say this to people when we get on the boat, that from here on it's flexible. It's not like a game drive where we're going to leave at 5:30 in the morning and we're going to come back at 9:30. Then we're going to sit around for a little bit, and then we're going to go again at 3 o'clock until 7 o'clock. When you go on expedition style trips, I'm thinking Svalbard, Antarctica, Great Bear Rainforest, Borneo, Madagascar, those kind of things. You have to be very flexible with the way that you approach it, because anything could happen at any time. Like in Svalbard, you are up 24/7, literally 24 hours a day. You are ready to go and photograph something. Like there's always someone on the bridge, and you could get a knock on your door anytime saying, come, there's a polar bear, there's a whale. The Great Bear Rainforest trip is very similar. Now in Svalbard, for those of you that did watch and that have been, you'll know we use icebreakers. We have to, because you go into the pack ice and up north. The Great Bear Rainforest waters isn't frozen. It is beautiful and green and amazing. And we use a yacht called the Island Roamer. Now, I'm going to show that to you a little bit from now and just scan through it a little bit. It is small. It is not huge, but it's the only way to get into a lot of these little inlets and things. That's where the magic happens. So like Svalbard, there's 2 Zodiacs. At any point in time, if we see something cool that we want to photograph, you get on the Zodiacs and off you go. So it's expedition style in that the only thing that really keeps time are the meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And the rest of the time you're on deck, we do light trip in between, but at any point in time, you can be called and say, listen, there's something to look at and something to see, and then something to photograph. When I put the first trip together to the Great Bear Rainforest, the hero, there's always a hero for any destination. Svalbard, polar bear. Mala Mala, leopard. Yeah. Masai Mara would be river crossings, right? And cheetah, for example. So the kind of ambassador species for this part of the world is the spirit bear or the Komodo bear. We'll talk a bit about them as we get closer to them. And there's only between 300 and 400 of them in the world because they're very isolated. Their gene pool is very isolated on a little island called Grizzly Island, but I'm going to show you where that is as well. And when you go on a trip like this, that's what you want to see. That's what people want to see. Now, I've been up there twice and we're going again here. This year, obviously, with the whole Corona thing, it's been moved on. But next year, we are going back. And even though the spirit bear is the hero, and it's a dramatic hero, it's a huge hero, right? It's massive. There's so much else. The diversity of this place is unbelievable. Everything from macro to landscapes to amazing birding, whale photography, everything. I mean, coastal wolves, we'll talk about those. Haven't seen them yet. Tracked them on a couple of occasions. Didn't see them, unfortunately, but not yet. Not yet. We are going to keep looking. But let me quickly take you on a map. I'm going to screen share with you guys a map of, first of all, just the Great Bear Rainforest, where it is. And then I'm going to go a little bit deeper into that map and show you the normal routing that we do through the whole thing. So if I can ask, can you guys just please confirm for me that you can see on screen now a map of the Great Bear Rainforest? All right, the map is up. Fantastic. Now, this whole area that's been circled here, right? Everything, all of that is the Great Bear Rainforest. A lot of it is almost impenetrable that unless you're going to get, thanks Martha, unless you're going to get on foot and walk in here, which you can do, but it's a proper, you need hardcore expedition for that, right? All of this is the Great Bear Rainforest. Now I'm going to show you where we start. I'm going to show you where we finish. But Grizzly Island, which sits in the middle over here, we're going to zoom into it in a little bit. That is where the Komodo bears live. In there and then a little bit scattered around. I'll tell you how they work and why they're only there and stuff like that. But that is the Great Bear Rainforest. So if you look at a map of Canada on the far west coast of British Columbia, you get this. That is the Great Bear Rainforest. It is primary forest and it is old and you can feel it when you're there. I don't know how many of you have ever been to Borneo, but if you stand in the rainforest of Borneo, the place feels alive around you. You can feel the forest breathing. And when you walk in here and when you go on land in this place, it's the same. The diversity is amazing, experience-wise and photographically. So I'm going to take you now into, so I've just pulled you back a little bit here. So here we go into the Great Bear Rainforest. I'm going to pull you in. Our trip normally starts at Bella Bella, which is over here, right? So we start here. From there, the goal with this whole thing, and again, we have, and I speak to the captain before, we have more or less an idea of how we're going to work this through, right? It's not just, okay, like a game drive. We go, we come back to the lodge. There's different spots throughout all these little fjords and inlets and stuff that they can anchor. And depending on what we find, you kind of custom it to that, right? So you sleep in different spots every night, sometimes twice in one spot, like when we get to Gribble. But we start at Bella Bella and then we sail up and through these fjords, depending on what we've heard, where the activity's been, weather conditions, and so on and so forth. So what we would normally do is we would sail up, all the way up, when we start getting into these areas over here. Just quickly pull back a little bit. This is Grizzly Island, just for your reference. This is kind of Spirit Bear Central, this one over here. That's where we spend the last 2 days. Now, how it works is because the local people are called the First Nations. If you haven't, guys, go and Google the First Nations and British Columbia. Fascinating history, amazing people, beautiful art and stuff as well. And what you find here is that they take care, and they're basically the custodians of this whole area. And out of Hartley Bay, which is just across the water from Gribble Island, that's a big First Nations community. And you cannot go on Gribble Island without having a local First Nations guide with you. So you need permits. So our whole trip, when we plan the trip up to the Great Bear Rainforest, you don't want to go to Gribble Island on day 1 and 2, because then you're going to go there, you might see a spirit bear, and then if you do, then it's the rest of the trip does this. So we normally plan our trips that the last 2 nights we spend on Gribble Island. And I'm going to show you some pictures and some iPhone videos and stuff of the place. So this is where we want to end the trip, right? Hey, thank you for joining us. Good evening. So we start down over here, and we then, sorry, let me just pull you back a bit. So we start here from Bellava, and we sail up Campbell Island, and we work all of these little areas. There's various inlets and stuff as we go in. Now, the time of year for this, when we do this, is normally end of August into September. That's the salmon run, when the salmon go up these creeks to spawn. Yeah. And that's when the bears, black bears, grizzlies, and a spirit bear, which is actually a black bear, but we'll talk about it. That's when they also come down from the top of the mountains, where they normally feed on berries throughout the year. And then they come down into the bottoms and they feed on the salmon. So that's where we start. We go up. This is where we end off, but we'll get there. So what we do is, let me quickly pull back here. One of the first days, now on the other side of here, Bella Bella, right? We sail up, up, up. On the other side over here, you get what's called the Goose, or they call it Goose Islands, Goose Islands. It's a hot spot for coastal wolves. Now, let me quickly stop screen sharing with you here. I have an issue with coastal wolves, right? A big issue. And yes, we can go there together. Anyway, if you're keen, let me know. We can go together. So coastal wolves, I have on every single trip. In 2017, we found good tracks, I think, twice. And in 2018 or 19, so I've been here 3 years. In 2018, we found fresh tracks, but I know tracking. I've been tracking animals, big cats and stuff for a long time. And these tracks were incredible. On 3 occasions, we tracked coastal wolves endlessly. We didn't find them. And at the end, we had to get off the island because the tides were changing. So we didn't get these coastal wolves. But go and look at Ian McAllister's work. He has, I've got that book here, actually. Hang on. Watch here. This is unplanned, by the way. So this book, The Last Wild Wolves, coastal wolf, right? Coastal wolf. These things go and hunt in the ocean. They hunt on the beach. I mean, you're joking with me. Brendan, you for one, you should be, frothing at the mouth at the thought of this. Some of the images in here, so it's a normal wolf, obviously. They look like that, right? Coastal wolf, quite cute. But the magic happens when, I'm looking for one particular shot here for you guys quickly. If you can go and get this book by Ian McAllister, it is definitely worth it. I'm not finding it now. So these wolves also pull salmon out of the river. Like really? So I tracked these things on numerous occasions, every single trip and multiple times, and we never found them. That's why I'm going back, you see. That's why I'm going back. So coastal wolves is another draw card. So let me take you back now that you know what they are. So, So on the first day, we come across and we go and look at Goose Island, and we spend the night there. It is beautiful. And I'll show you some images from there now. Spend the night in a little bay, go around looking for coastal wolves. And one of the magical things here is that in the evenings, when you stop, it's quiet. The motor's off and you anchor in this quiet little bay. The chance of hearing coastal wolves is also real. So you could literally be sitting on the deck, this beautiful sunset happening, and then you get these wolves howling. I want to go back right now. It's an amazing place. So we spent only 1 or 2 days here. Now, for those of you that are going to ask about seasickness, right? Ask about seasickness. Callum, those wolves, man, it's incredible, right? So we only spent 1 or 2 days here. Now, those asking about seasickness, right? This big stretch here is the only time ever on this trip where we had any kind of nausea or rough weather. Because you're going into open ocean-ish, kind of. right? So then we go back into these fjords, and then it's nice and quiet from there on. But coastal wolves, this is a hot spot, and there's a couple of other ones up here as well, where we found tracks in Mussel Inlet, not like mussel, the thing that you eat, right? Inlet, where we go look for grizzlies. We found some good tracks there as well, right? So now, after that, we come in here, and then we sail through all of these. Let me take you in a little bit here, into Gribble Island, and we spend time on all of these around here. Now, just out of interest here, right here is Finn Island. Now, this to me, last time we did this, I've only done this once, right? That's very cool. So in this area here, they're doing whale research. Now, I'm trying to get this woman who runs this thing on the podcast, because they've got stations on the corner there, and there. And they're doing underwater when you record sound underwater. And they've been studying whales in this area, humpbacks and orcas in this area. And the stuff they have on them is ridiculous. I'm trying to get this lady on the podcast, but I need to hit her up when she's in like a big town, because right there, the signal's really bad. We spent a day with them there, ridiculously interesting. We're going to talk about whales as well. From there, what we do on our trip is we sail up to Gribble, and normally we circumnavigate Gribble Island all the way around like this, looking and spotting on the coast to see if we find any of these bears. Now, what would happen is most evenings, when we stay here for the last 2 nights, we go into this little bay thingy here, and we anchor right on the corner. And then in the morning, we go across, you anchor there. Your guide from the First Nations come from Hartley Bay. They come around, they meet you, and you go in. Now, there's 3 different areas, access, 2 on the eastern side and 1 on the western side, where you go in. And you basically sit down next to this creek where the salmon are going up, and you wait for the bears. You literally sit there for the whole day waiting for the bears. They've built very rudimentary platforms. Martha, you might remember from our first trip, the platforms were kind of basic. The next year they upgraded them, and they're busy upgrading them again. But I'm talking basic, right? So Gribble Island, we'll talk a little bit about later. Just out of interest, when I show you my first spirit bear ever that I saw, was right on this corner here. We were sailing past, we were going to go down. I think this is Victoria Island or something. We were going to go down, and as we got just around the corner, we saw my first spirit bear there. Amazing, right? So from there, we would sail up, and then we keep going, and we normally end the trip up in Kitimat, which is in the top over here. So after Gribble Island, which is the triangle, we sail around, round. I think we spend 1 more night here somewhere, and then up to Kitimat. And from Kitimat, we fly back out, normally to Vancouver, and then we carry on from there. So in a short nutshell, this is kind of the area that we explore, the Great Bear Rainforest. Now, I'm going to quickly show you the vessel that we use. Now, remember I said that it's a little yacht. They say, and I'll just show you some pictures of this thing now. They say you can put 14 people on this yacht. Now, Martha, you'll know there were only 5 or 6 of us, right? Plus then the staff and so on. But we don't do that. The cabins are tiny. Now, if at the Svalbard, Brendan, you guys from Svalbard will know, the cabins in Svalbard, you got bunk beds like this, and then you got big space. These are small. There's one bunk bed like this, and you'll see this now, and the other one sits over it there. So basically, I'm sleeping with my feet under your, like, it's tiny. So what we do on our trips is we only take half. We take exclusive use of the vessel, but only put 1 person per cabin. It just works better. Because here, compared to Svalbard, you do spend more time in your cabin because the sun does go down as per normal. I'll show you some sunsets in a little bit. Okay. Craig asked just on the Q&A quickly, Gerry, how close are the platforms to the approximately? So I think I've got some iPhone shots, Craig, but the platforms themselves on Gribble Island is built next to the creek. So you can walk from the platform 4 meters, not only 2 meters, and you're at the water, and the bears walk in the water. It's close, right? It's close. Island Roma is charter. Guys, any questions? Remember, pop them in the Q&A for me. I will get back to that later on. And I'm going to take you now to, let me close this one, Island Roma. Okay, so this here is the vessel. 2 Zodiacs. Your cabin's inside. That makes it look very, here we So one underneath and one over. So I'll give each person their own cabin, right? So most people use the top one for luggage. You stack your stuff at the top, your camera gear, and then you sleep on the other one. As simple as that. Downstairs, so this image here that you're looking at here is if you come up this doorway here, this comes from the cabins. I think it's a 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 of the cabins. You come out and there's this little sitting area over here. Little library, phenomenally interesting books. And then this goes up to the top deck. This, and then if from this image you turn to your left, that is what you see. This is the dining area. Now, down there's the staff area and the kitchen and so on. If you walk up these stairs over here, going up, you get to the top of the vessel, which is inside this area over here. It's closed in the evenings, but you can sit at the back as well. So, not much, but it is I have most of our meals up at the top. Just while I'm looking at this now, these paddle, what are these things called? Come on, Gerry. Kayak. There it is. Kayak. That's always on board as well. And the first year we didn't do much of that. The second year, every time we docked in one of these flat bay things, we would go kayak. So you get 2x2s and you get singles. And you go kayak in the day to get in that kayak and just kind of slosh through the water. Stop it. Nothing. It is magnificent. So that's just a little bonus as well on the side. But that's the Island Roamer. That's the vessel that we use. She's got a sister ship as well, which I think I'm using next year. A new one, and she's slightly bigger. But the cool thing is these guys they've got 3 vessels that they run in the Great Bear Rainforest. And they have connections. They've been doing this for 15, 16 years. They know the waters, and that's important. As with Svalbard, the more you know about the area, they're going to find you little nooks and crannies, like they know that's normally bears come from this way and so on. So it's like going to a reserve and there's an experienced guide. It makes a huge difference. Now, from here, I'm going to close this one for you quickly there. And you're going to come back to me over here. So quickly just to check this Q&A here. Belinda Simons, how many people? Belinda, are you meaning on the trip that we host? Only 6 guests and myself. And then there's the captain, there's the mate, there's the naturalist, which is like your local guide who I work with. And there is the chef. And I think that is about it. So small group, intimate, phenomenal. Okay, so now photographically, the reason we go here is obviously for the spirit bear or the Komodo bear. We'll talk about them when I show them to you. But there is so much more. There is absolutely so much more. And it's the kind of place where you could utilize a lens from 14 mil to 600. I wouldn't recommend anything less than 400, especially if you want to do like the bald eagles and stuff as well, which is beautiful in the mist. I'll show you some images. But average, I would reckon if you have a 70-200 and a 200-400 combo, I think you're good. iPhone, amazing for some images. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you into the galleries of my last years there. And I'm going to slowly scroll from the top. And as I find things, I'm going to open that image. We're going to talk a bit about that and then move on. But you're going to see the images in chronological order as they were shot throughout the entire trip. Remembering the following thing, for those of you that have been on a trip with me, I don't always photograph. I help the guests to photograph. So I don't shoot as much as I could. And still, you will see the diversity of this place. It is absolutely magnificent. So again, any questions, guys, pop them in the Q&A for me. I'll try and keep the chat function open. And I'm going to take you now first, but let me tell you why. Hang on. I'm going to take you first to my last trip. Because, no, I'll tell you later. Okay, I'll tell you later. Let me take you to 2000 and, so guys, in the chat function, just please quickly tell me that you can see the gallery that I've got on screen here. You can see the gallery that I have got on screen, so we can dig into this. Yes. Okay, that's brilliant. So I'm going to show you 2 years worth, right, of images. This is the first year. I'm going to start with the second one. And then I've got my iPhone images that I took on that trip as well, because I want to show you some of the ship and some of the behind the scenes and stuff as well. Like when the Humpbacks came right up to the Zodiacs. So we'll scroll through these now. Okay, but we're going to start not with my first year, but with last year. So just from the top down. So this again, remember, this is chronological Lightroom catalog, the images that I've processed. So on day one, to give you an idea here, this here is the first day when I said, well, we set sail and we go across that open patch of water, right? As we go across that open patch of water, what we do is, if you're on the yacht, it can be a little bit up and down from a seasick point of view. So what we do is we get the Zodiacs out and we basically kind of go and play around in the waves with the Zodiacs, because it's not as bad on the Zodiac when you're splashing and thrashing around. So internet is amazing, as you can see. It is just amazing. So the clouds this day was magnificent, as you can see. Right, this will load anytime now. So what this is here is, this is the Island Roamer, our vessel, sailing across towards Goose Island on that one of the trip. And just to give you an idea of the look of the vessel in the open ocean, it's phenomenal photography. So this is the roughest water we've ever had up there, right? So there's the vessel. There's one Zodiac being pulled just behind it, and we then go alongside it. It's pretty cool because we get photographs of that, and you're out in the water on day one, so it's nice. The captain and one of the naturalists did the Titanic moment, like in the front. I'm flying, Jack, whatever it was, on the front for us as well, which was pretty cool. So just as an idea, that is the Island Roamer on day one. We crossed there. Now, the one big thing that is pretty neat in the Great Bear Rainforest is the diversity. Now, at the base of Goose Island, you have, yes, you know, you get these colonies of stellar sea lions that are huge. And again, we go and get really close to these guys, right? They smell, they really stink, right? But they make for phenomenal photography. On this particular year, they didn't really come down into the water, but I will show you the previous year as well. It's like anything. You can go to Mala Mala today and 2 leopard kills, and the next time you might not even see a lion. So it's one of those things, right? So the cool thing is then, this is Goose Island, what you see here. So this is, for those of you that know Jono, partner of mine at Wild Eye, this is Ida, his wife. She came with on this trip. And we then go and walk in this place with your camera. Here we have amazing coastal wolf tracks. We tracked them for a little bit, didn't see anything. But the photography is golden, right? Just look at this, all the way to macro, little landscapes. This here, we quickly zoom in for you here. This would be kind of the landing. It's very similar expedition style as is Svalbard, where you would Zodiac on, come back. Zodiac, that would be the Zodiac transfer in and out, right? If we go to photograph from Zodiac, we use 2. Otherwise, there's just the 1 in and out. Amazing sunsets around Goose Island, like over here. It is absolutely beautiful in the mornings. As you sail, this kind of foliage that you see over here, right? This kind of foliage here is all the way around you, all the time. And if you look closely, and the captain points us out, you get these old kind of totem poles in between, just random, which is part of the First Nations history, which is pretty awesome. So these kind of landscapes you can photograph all the time. This is around Goose Island, macros in the sand. To me, this looks like the Okavango Delta from the sky. But I'm just showing you the diversity. It is absolutely beautiful. So over here, you get the bald eagles. I'll pull some in up for you later. Humpback whales. I've never seen as many humpback whales. We've literally, and I'll show you some images, we've watched breaching for 3-4 hours at a time in that Finn Island where they do the whale research again and again and again and again. It is magnificent. But the landscapes, the diversity, walking in these creeks, right? I mean, this, I'll show you the iPhone footage in a little bit. It is spectacular. Photographing up in the forest. If you've never, and I know some of you have never been in a rainforest, you're missing out. It's like stepping into a living, breathing world, and it is magnificent. I will take some of you there. It is a guarantee. Things like this, sea stars, right? Anemones, for those of you that see Nemo, right? You've got all of these things. And I mean, we took a GoPro and you put them underwater because as you're walking, there's all these things, these mussels and sea stars and stuff. Starfish, sea stars. That's my Afrikaans coming through. So all of those things you photograph sitting on the side. This is Ida again, Jono's wife. Waterfalls, landscapes, humpback whales. The bald eagles in this place is absolutely amazing. Really, really special. And normally that time there's a lot of juveniles around, which means the adults are active. So there's a lot of flying shots in and out. Grizzlies, right. Just by on the chat, how many of you have seen grizzlies in real life, please? Just a quick one. How many of you have photographed grizzly bears in real? Becky has. Callum, no. Callum, we got to get you up there, buddy. Got to get you up there. Yes, amazing. Belinda says, no. Charlotte says, I wish. No, I haven't. We can arrange that. No, sorry. Don't be sorry, Kristen. Just book a trip and we'll go do it. It's easy. It's easy. Okay. So, grizzly bears. Now, this trip, Kamchatka bears, and that's interesting. And I've seen them, but my camera broke before that part of the trip. Oh my God, Robert. Do you want to talk about it? That's rough, man. That's rough. Anyway, grizzly bears. So on this particular day, this was last year's trip. This one came along and literally this is us on foot, right? So we're on foot and these things come because you walk up and you sit next to the inlets. The salmon are swimming up the river, yeah? And the river's yay deep or yay deep. So these things come and catch the salmon. So what you normally find is the bears would walk upstream, grizzlies, black bears, spirit bears. They walk up the stream and as they walk in the water, then down, and then they catch the salmon as they walk down. Phenomenal photography. So this one was coming towards us, checked us out for a little bit, and maybe, I don't know, 5-6 meters from us, stopped and crossed the river. Amazing. Little harbor seal. We'll talk more about the grizzlies as we go. Harbor seals, fantastic photography. Scenes like this, I mean, after a while, you don't photograph them anymore, just depending on which inlets we go into. Magnificent waterfalls. So photographically, you're looking at slow motions and landscapes and close-ups. We had some good fun with that. Back, walking in the forests. Here, this is cool. As the streams come down from the mountains, these are the waterfalls. And here you've got the salmon trying to jump up the water because they've got to get into the stream to go and spawn. Yeah? So this was pretty cool. We got off, we walked around, and we sat on the side trying to photograph the salmon as they're jumping up. And we got some pretty cool shots in between. We wasted a lot of shots, but hey, it's digital. That's good. So more scenes like this. Guys, this is, sorry, let me click that, is basically your stock standard landscapes that you're going through all the time. Amazing birding. There's a grizzly mom. She had 2 youngsters with her. So this one I am going to open though. So at the end of the day, like I say, you basically anchor in these bays, right? Normally there's no other ships. It is very quiet. So this is our vessel on the right, on the left-hand side here. This is the inlet where we looked at, and there were 2 others. On this, yeah, we missed them the first ride, Martha, you're quite right, hey? It was phenomenal to photograph them. So it was our vessel over here, that's the Island Roamer. This is us on the Zodiacs coming back from a day out photographing grizzlies. And then these guys were there, they were the sister ship. And then this fancy yacht pulled up. And the people on this trip, they were convinced that Brad Pitt's on there. Because there's nobody else around, Brad Pitt has to be on there. I don't know why him, but apparently Brad Pitt was on this vessel. I can't confirm that or deny that. Anyway, so we carried on in the morning, and then down these channels, you get these whales breaching again and again and again. And you can actually, if you start watching them, you'll know when to photograph. I'm not going to go too technical on the photography here, but things like Pro Capture from the mirrorless systems, they help. But you start seeing where they breach. They leave tracks. They wave the fluke and it makes a circle. That's where they're going to come up. Amazing breaching. On this day, we saw an elephant seal. My first elephant seal. It looks like a beaver or something, but that's an elephant seal, which was pretty neat. And then here we went close. This is Finn Island, right? I told you about where they're doing the research. We watched these whales breaching for 3 or 4 hours, again and again and again and again. And the photography is ridiculous. And every single person, regardless of skill level, got shots like this because they do it again and again and again. And there were 2 of them going up and down and jumping together again and again. So the breaching was phenomenal. The photography was phenomenal. But more than that, after a while, literally people put their cameras down and just leave it. It's like, okay, that's cool. But things like this, to see humpbacks breach, and this one was close. I mean, this is on a 70-200 millimeter lens at about 100 mils. And I didn't crop this much. So yes, a little bit lucky that it was in frame because there's still where are they going to come up? But scenes like this, if you want breaching whales, yes, you can come to South Africa and Hermanus, and that's amazing. But the Great Bear Rainforest in those channels for breaching humpbacks is next level stupid ridiculous. Guys, if any of you want to go and scroll through these images on my website, just send me a mail after this. You've got my email, and I'll send you the links. You can go and have a look. And I'm going to now, this is where the trip ended. did you notice there were no spirit bears? Exactly. Exactly. I'm going to show you the creek though. Martha, you'll remember this. So this is looking downstream from one of these platforms I told you about, these wooden platforms, right? We spent 2 full days on those platforms. We saw Jack. We didn't see a bear, whether it was black or white, nothing. But this is the scene where these bears normally, it's just magical. Yeah, 100%, Martha, totally magical. So this is, Martha, I'll show you some pictures now that you'll remember. This is on the previous year, we had this one big guy, I think it was Boss, his name. He was hunting on and around these rocks and he was climbing up and down here. But this is the view up and down the creek. It is absolutely beautiful, totally stunning. But we did not, on this particular year, see a spirit bear, which in all honesty sucked, right? But hey, it's nature. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. So on this particular year, and was I disappointed? Hell yeah. Were the clients disappointed? Absolutely. But understand it's nature. It just happened to be the first time, I don't know why it had to happen on my trip, in 14 years worth of doing trips and multiple trips each year, that the crew on that ship did not see spirit bears. Why me? Why? But it happens. It's part of the deal. So were the people disappointed on the evening? It was kind of shitty getting back to the boat, and it's like, oh, okay, we're not going back. But it is what it is. That's nature. So if anybody want to come with me next year, I've had my miss, so next year will be good again. Different story. Okay, so I'm going to take you back now. I'm going to quickly scroll through diversity again, and I'll stop at the spirit bears. We'll talk a little bit about that. So this, Martha, this was the trip that you were on. Guys, I see the questions coming in. I will answer all of those for you. So again, I'm going to scroll through here from the top. Landscapes, beautiful. Look at this reflection. I mean, come on. Harbor seals, sea otters, the coolest thing. I mean, and they have the little pebble that they use. They keep their pebble with them. You know the story? Go Google it. Pretty awesome. This is the Stellar sea lions the year before. So here we had loads of them in the water. We can absolutely go. We're going to go to many places, many places. Here, remind me about the pebble story. So here we were in the water, in the Zodiac, and these guys were also in the Zodiac. Tough shooting because of this, but we did everything. We drove around them in circles. We had backlight, front light, kind of diffuse light. It was magnificent. So Stellar sea lions, beautiful sunsets. This is around Goose Island where we go looking for the coastal wolves. Early mornings, this is us leaving on the Zodiac. Look at this. It almost, to me, this almost had like an oriental feeling, like an Asian feeling, just the forest and stuff. I don't know. I've never been, but it seems to me like that. Reflections on the water. These forests. Moss on the forest. Check, a crab. I photographed a crab. So even though you're going to photograph bears, there's crabs. Walking in the forest. This is the forest you're walking through, right? Look at these incredible scenes and photography. We stopped on this beach here as well. We stopped and we found coastal wolf tracks, tracked them for a while. This is old First Nations kind of old fishing cabins and stuff, but it's deserted now. Humpback whales, these scenes with the humpbacks, inlets. Look at the scale of this place. Zodiac here going into the forest, just magnificent. Mist early mornings. These are all on foot. Martha, we went walking here, remember? Coming back to the same waterfall from the year before. Bubble net feeding. We watched bubble net feeding. I'll tell you about that now in a sec. One of the inlets where we had mom grizzly hunting, macro walking around. This is all on foot, right? The bears are all on foot. Macro in between. Grizzly bears. Phenomenal, right? So again, there is reflection. This is Coots Inlet. Grizzly bears at distance. We had an amazing amount of bears on this year. 2 young bears with the moss. Come on, this is like a fairy tale. This is what you're looking at. Again, these breaching humpbacks, which is just magnificent. They do dorsal fin slapping and fluke slapping and all kinds of things. I'll show you about the humpback, the bubble net feeding in a while. Black bears, which are pretty awesome. Eating the mussels off the rocks. Beautiful. Here had a river crossing. How's this? We were in our Zodiac, if you'll remember this, and this black bear came and he swam across us, in front of us in this channel, and then it started to rain, and he come on, the photography was insane. And even if you didn't have the bear, the photography is still amazing, right? Here's us on foot in one of the inlets, one of the Zodiacs, again, misty mornings. These bald eagles flying through the mist is just spectacular, just spectacular. So bubble net feeding, just for those of you who don't know, right? Bubble net feeding, I'm gonna stop sharing it for a second. What happens is, and if you haven't checked this out, go and Google bubble net feeding. What the whales do is they swim in a circle under the water around a ball of fish. They'll swim in a circle and they blow bubbles. They blow bubbles. So what happens, the bubble goes up and it creates basically a net of bubbles, yeah? The whales then go down, and as they come up from underneath, the bubbles are now on the side because they've swum in circles, and you can see this from the surface, these bubbles happening. We saw it many times on all the trips. It's amazing. So the bubbles come up and you can see the circle. The whales then come from underneath and they do a very high pitch, almost like a squeal, which chases the fish up. The fish can't escape because they think they're in a net. And then the whales come up with their mouths open, sometimes 2 or 3 at a time. And then they grab the fish as they come up. So that is what you're looking at over here, right? So they come up with their mouths open and you can see the inside of the mouth as they then bite and feed on the fish. It is magnificent, absolutely special. So then, remember I told you about Grizzly Island, right? At the corner where I saw my first one. We saw this black bear feeding off the mussels. He chows the mussels and he tries to bite it off the rocks. We were about to leave. We saw him on the coast like this. We then saw behind us these whales doing bubble net feeding. So we went to photograph them for a little bit. And then suddenly we saw this scene here, a little white butt. And this was my first ever spirit bear, or a Komodo bear as they're better known, right? So these two, the white bear and the black bear, they were a couple of 100 meters aside, if I remember correctly. And we were on the Zodiacs going from side to side. And it was ridiculously special watching this. And I think this was a girl. And she was watching us. Martha, actually, if you're still watching, this is you over here, I think. You photographed between you guys. So that was my first spirit bear on the edge of Gribble. It was on the southeastern corner of Gribble Island. And she was there doing her thing. It is magnificent. I'll tell you about the spirit bears now. But photography of this, now it looks like a polar bear, but it's not. Look at these scenes, guys. Come on. It is just ridiculous photography. So we were busy watching her doing her thing. And then behind us, you had these guys breaching. It's quite ridiculous. Now, we then went in and we spent some time at these, what's it called? These kind of, goodness, brain's tired. At these little stands that they built, the stands, right? And these are the scenes up and down the river. Now, before I show you the next sequence, a spirit bear is really called a Komodo bear. And there's about 300 to 400 of them in the world in Gribble. Now, what they do is, well, not what they do. A spirit bear is basically a black bear, but it's got a double recessive gene. That's why they look like they do. So that means a mother black bear could have a white cub. A white mom could have a black cub. It could come out at any point in time. Interestingly enough, spirit bears that are white tend to hunt salmon better. Think about it. A black bear standing over fish looking up against a white sky, the black bear will stand out more. Whereas a white bear wouldn't cast as big a shadow coming down. Just a little interesting thing. These things I've done blog posts on them in the past. They have, that made me laugh. They have a lot of cultural significance, obviously, and spiritual significance. So go and read up on these things. Komodo bear, Kermode bear. The problem, and this is a thing that's being discussed now at the government level on that side, grizzly bear hunting has been opened up, yeah, so you can shoot grizzlies. Oh no, sorry, banned. It's been banned, right? It's been banned. But black bear hunting has not been banned. Problem is, a spirit bear is actually a black bear. But that's a discussion for another time. Guys, I see your questions. I'm going to quickly finish these images, and then we can go from there. So, all right. So now, these kind of images. So here, all of this now is over the 2 days of us spending time at Gribble. This is Boss, this big guy. So he walks across and he comes down. There was black bears in the mix as well. But you basically sit next to the river and these things come past you at distance. You get landscape shots. You get close-up shots. This guy was charging. So there was a bunch of photographers on our left-hand side as we look at the river. And this black bear gave them a bit of a rev. But knowing what they're going to do up and down, you can start prepping shots. So he climbs underneath, beautiful reflection. Guys, again, I'll send you the link to this if any of you need. So you can just send me a mail and I'll send you the link. You can have a nice look at all of these. But the photography with these things hunting salmon, this was golden. Watch this. He saw salmon from the top, right? And then went into the water and he basically charged the salmon straight at us. And we had these sequences and video of an animal of which there's only 300 to 400 in the world hunting straight towards you in the water. I mean, come on. This is ridiculous. And we're literally sitting from this guy, I'm going to say 10 meters away, and he's coming towards you. Magnificent. This is the creek as well, an image. I think this is the next day coming to do his thing, hunting up and down, up and down. This is only the images that I processed. This is not the whole bunch. Yeah. So this is just some of them, right? The shadows. Now look at this. You have this beam of light came through. So I was walking right along the side of the river, following with a wide angle. And as I was walking, this beam of light came in because of the reflection in my lens. I'm like, holy shit, that's amazing. It's a spirit bear. And there's like light from heaven coming down, spirit bear. So I thought this was very clever. You can go and look at the images tomorrow. But with them, you can play with exposure compensation and you can do things like this. An image like this here, where this thing's just going in, but you underexpose dramatically. And because it's a white subject, you can create magic, total magic, right? So there's him shaking. This is a pine marten, which was pretty cool. I'm seeing your questions, guys. I will get to them. A blue jay, and then we ordered it for the black bear as well. Now, to me, that one day when we spent, Martha, you remember that he hunted towards us, must be one of my best ever wildlife moments, knowing that it was just us. This is one animal of 300 to 400 in the world at a push, and we're getting stuff like that. So just quickly by way of chat, I mean, time-wise, I'm already 3 minutes over. Are you guys happy if I take another 5 minutes? Just want to run you through some of the iPhone shots to show you some of the back of house and scenes, and maybe 1 or 2 videos. Are we happy for that? Yes? Okay. Callum says he's good. Fantastic. Okay. So I'm going to scroll quickly. There's 1 or 2 videos. I just want to show you one video of the humpbacks when they came to play with our Zodiacs, and then 1 or 2 videos of the actual sighting of those spirit bears. So let me take you back in here, and then we'll do Q&A from there. So we are over here. Close that one, close that one, close that one. All right, so I'm going to literally scroll through these very quickly, and now it's jumped to a different place. Here we go. So here we started. So this was the night before we stayed in this kind of lodge hotel thing, which was pretty cool. Little island, I think it's Port Hardy that we stayed in. Breakfast the next morning. Phil and Sarah to my clients. Me with the bear. Anyway, so this is us before we got on. I'm going to scroll down here. The view out of my room. This is Sarah. I don't know what we were laughing at. We were playing a game. She was tired. So watch here. Let me quickly just open here. Right? So here the humpback. So we're dragging the Zodiacs with us, right? And then these humpbacks would come. I just hope my internet does what it's supposed to do now. It's been so bad. It's been so bad. Let's see if I can play this for you. So these humpbacks literally, they came right up and they were kind of half, it almost looked like they were playing with the Zodiacs and they were blowing and we were taking videos and stuff. And I think someone had once said, Sarah said that she's got whale snot on her because this thing blew and all the water came towards us. So this is, ooh, my internet. Guys, I apologize. Blame Home Connect. Very bad Home Connect. So that literally just at the Zodiac there, I'm going to pause, but you get the idea. These whales literally right there. You could almost touch them if you wanted. This is where we got on the Zodiac and we saw our first spirit bear. There she is. This is Lindsay. She was our naturalist on this trip. Here we are photographing the bear. Go walking into the forest. So when we walk towards these stands, you go through forest like this. So you're walking through this, and the stand itself is basically this over here, what you see there. right? It's very rudimentary. It looks up the river and then down the river, and there is a spirit bear selfie. But here, this is a good example. This here is basically the stand, super basic, nothing funny about it. We take food with for the day, and we spend the day there. And then the next day we go in again, and I wanted to show you guys here. So here we are at the base of the stand, right? So there's the spirit bear. It hunted this way towards us, and we walked all the way. I think I've got a video here somewhere. I think it's this one. Let's just see here. So this is the last video I'll show you guys now. Just let that load quickly. And this was us photographing that scene where the animal came right towards us. I mean, it's right there. It's right there. And you're on the side of the river. That's how close you get. And we were sitting right here. Let me just back it up a touch here for you to hear. He walked along and then he turned around and he came. That's when he hunted straight towards us. So just spectacular. I mean, moments like this, and I didn't even photograph this one. I was just standing with my phone so I could photograph that and just experience it. So carried on later in the afternoon. We did our group shot here. So this was our whole trip, just for memory's sake. Great Bear Rainforest, August 2017. So this is myself and all the clients and the naturalists and the staff and everybody. And there's our local, 2 local First Nations guides as well. Like I said, that you need for these trips. I'm going to leave you with this picture because this was awesome. Right. What they sometimes do. This was breakfast on the last morning. Crab and croissants. Keep this in mind. Now, what they do is once or twice in the trip, they will put out the crab traps and they catch. Now, again, this is all sustainably done and everything, and they only catch the big one. But now we're talking big ass crabs, right? And the chef would make it right there, and that becomes dinner and or breakfast. Super breakfast. I've never had crab for breakfast. This was insane. Anyway, so I'm going to go to Q&A. If you have any questions, pop them in there now. But, and then we'll kind of wrap it up from there. So how many people we did answer? It's only 6 people plus myself. Have you seen orca there? Funny enough, no. We've missed them every time. But we did hear them. When we were at Finn Island, Callum, we were listening. And we actually heard them calling underwater, but we didn't see them. Sarah, who was on the trip, went to Vancouver Island, I think it was, the day after the trip, and they saw there. Apparently, we're unlucky not to have seen them. But yeah, one of those things. I think I have an orca allergy because they don't come close to me or something. Have you ever been felt threatened by a grizzly or black bears while on foot? No. It's very different to the big animals in Africa. They don't do the same kind of thing. So I'm more nervous and afraid of polar bears in the wild than these. These are pretty cool. But no, never been threatened by any of them. So that's quite nice in a good way. Becky asks, are there no restrictions with how close the boat can get to the whales? When I went whale watching in Vancouver last summer, we couldn't get very close. So what happens here is with the big boats, when you get closer, the whales will move off. If they don't want you close, they won't get you close. So we've had them breach, and sometimes they'll swim under because it's a small vessel. So for them, their size versus the yacht size is kind of close, right? So we've had them kind of breach, 10 meters from the boat more than once. But again, we put ourselves there and we're going to spend time. So we're not like we keep the motor running and we go all the time and stuff. So there's no restriction, but the whales will tell you. And with anything, if you keep it ethical, not a problem at all. So no, there's no restriction, but you can get pretty close. Brendan asks, are they as strict in regards to approaching and photographing the bears as they are in Svalbard? How close were you to the spirit bear you saw? No. In Svalbard, they are ridiculously strict on it, as you know, Brendan, because polar bears is one of the only animals other than a crocodile that will go and hunt you to eat you. Crocodiles, polar bears, they will hunt you to eat you, which is not great. Grizzlies don't do that. Black bears don't do that. So there's not as many rules. We've had black bears 2-3 meters from us, kind of hunkered down, and they came past. The spirit bear we had super close. Grizzlies we had turn 5 meters and come across. So no, not as strict, but we still maintain kind of that respectful distance, if you know what I mean. So, but yeah, nothing as strict as Svalbard with regards to that. And Iago Rocco asks, is spirit bear easy to see in the Great Bear Rainforest? If you go to Grizzly Island, yes, you have a pretty good chance. It's where their stronghold is. That's where the gene pool started. You do find them on, I think it's, what's the one south? Queen Victoria Island, Prince Victoria Island, something. Just to the south of Gribble, you find some there as well. And there's very few of them scattered further around, but the stronghold is Gribble. So if you go to Gribble Island, you have a very, very good chance of seeing these things in the wild. And it is special. It really is. So that in a nutshell is the Great Bear Rainforest. It is ridiculous. It is amazing. It is diverse, both experience and photographically. And I hope that answered some questions and gave you some food for thought. Guys, if you have questions, if you want to see those galleries, drop me an email or hit me up on Instagram. I will send anything to you that you need, details or answer questions. Go look at the images. But it is a great destination. It's different. And you're going to come back with images of bears, landscape, and and crabs, right? But it is phenomenal. So guys, as always, thank you for listening. I will be back on Monday evening. We're doing collections in Lightroom for those of you that are keen. And then I'm doing another premium webinar 2 weeks from now in which we're doing the ultimate workflow for wildlife photography in Lightroom. But you can find all of that on Instagram. Go and follow the Wildlife feed. Guys, as always, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Wherever in the world you are, good morning, good evening, and good night. Stay safe. My name is Gerry. I'm from Wild Eye. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.